Yeah, good morning to you all. I remain Mr. Adebola Emmanuel Bolan. So this is Neco 2022 Chemistry Practical. By the special grace of God, it will soon come up. So for this year, what you should be expecting is titration, that is quantitative, the one we can also call volumetric analysis. So quantitative or volumetric analysis. Example of such is acid-base titration. So under acid-base titration, you are going to be given an acid, but you will not know the acid. So it will be labeled AN, or they label it A. Then the base will be labeled BN, or they label it B. So B subscript N, then the acid will be A subscript N, or AN. So you know what is expected of you. You are to put the acid into the burette until it gets to the 0 mark. Is that clear? Put the acid into the burette until it gets to the 0 mark. So that will be your initial reading. Then you pipette, that is, you draw with your mouth 20 or 25 centimeter cube of the base, that is BN or B, into a conical flask. Then you add 2 to 3 drops of indicator. I repeat, you pipette 20 centimeter cube or 25 centimeter cube of the base into a conical flask. Then you add 2 to 3 drops of methyl orange indicator. So make sure you are adding the indicator. Make sure you add the indicator drop by drop. So 2 to 3 drops. Then you start your titration. You start your titration. So when you start your titration, you'll be given 2 conical flasks. So you hold one that does not contain anything. You hold one that contains the base, which is the B or BN. Then you continue to add the acid drop by drop until you notice a color change. Then you have to perform the experiment 3 times. You have to perform the experiment 3 times. So at the end, you are going to have the first titration, the second titration, and the third titration. Then you look for the average titer. And that will be all as far as that is concerned. So you see, at the end of the day, questions they can still ask you is, what are the uses of acid-base titration? It can be used to standardize an acid or base. For example, if you are giving sodium carbonate, that's Na2CO3, as a base, you can make it your standard solution. What is a standard solution? A standard solution is a solution that contains a known mass of a substance dissolved in 1000 centimeter cube of a solution. It can also be dissolved in 250 centimeter cube of a solution. So a standard solution contains a known mass of a substance dissolved in a given volume, or in a known or given volume of the solution. So when you know the concentrate, the standard solution can now be used to determine the concentration of the acid. So another uses of acid-base titration is that you can use it to determine the molar mass of an acid or base. It can also be used to establish the mole ratio of acid to base. That's after balancing of the chemical equation. It can also be used to determine the percentage purity or percentage water of crystallization of an acid or base. Then the choice of indicator is also very important. When you are titrating a strong base and a weak acid, you are going to make use of phenolphthalein indicator. But the one that you are likely to be given for Neco is going to be weak base which is sodium carbonate, and a strong acid, which is nitric acid. Try also nitrate 5 acid. So when you are titrating a strong acid versus weak base, you make use of methyl orange. Weak acid versus weak base, you can no suitable indicator. Strong acid versus strong base, you can use any indicator. So the color of phenolphthalein acid is colorless, but it is pink in base. So then methyl orange, when you put it in an aqueous solution of acid that you have dilute with water, it is pink. Or when you put it in a base, that is when you put methyl orange in a base, it is yellow. So I've explained what a standard solution is. Now, how do you prepare a standard solution? Step 1, you measure the mass of the solute by making use of a weighing balance or a chemical balance. You use it to measure the mass of the solute, e.g. sodium carbonate. After you measure it, the solute is then dissolved in some distilled water in a beaker. Then the step 3, you now transfer it into a volumetric flask. It can be 1000 centimeter cube volumetric flask, and it can be 250 or 500 centimeter cube volumetric flask. Then what are the properties or characteristics of a standard solution? You can also look at that. It must not contain okay, you can look at the properties or characteristics of a standard solution. That is 99.9% purity can be one of it. 99, it must be pure. At least 99.9% purity. So we have other characteristics. So these are what is likely to be. Then precautions to be taken. I'm rounding up already. Precautions to be taken. You have to rinse the burette with the solution of acid, number 1. Number 2, rinse pipette with solution of base. Then number 3, expel air bubbles from burette and pipette. Then number 4, avoid splashes of solution on the walls of the container, because you use your left hand to hold the conical flask. Then as you swell it, you add the acid from the burette. So you have to be careful so that there will be no splash of the acid on the wall of the conical flask. Then read the burette and pipette at ice level to avoid parallax error. Then add 2 or 3 drops of the indicator. Then pipette the base to the mark. Then avoid spillage. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to post added to this video will be posting of other likely questions that may come up. Another aspect is the qualitative analysis. So thank you for listening.